If your books aren't selling the way you hoped, it's easy to assume the book is the problem. So you tweak the blurb, change the keywords, post more on social media, try another promo, or even watch another training video, maybe even change the cover, and still nothing moves the way you need it to. But what if your low book sales are only the symptom? What if the real problem is sitting somewhere deeper than your book marketing? In today's episode, I'm unpacking 5 possible deeper reasons your books may not be selling and what to do about each one. Plus, I have a free checklist that will help you identify exactly where to focus your time, your effort, and money so you can stop guessing and start moving forward with confidence and clarity. Grab your favorite beverage, friend, settle in, and turn up the volume. This is the Anointed Scribe podcast. I'm Ursilia Teixeira, ex-real estate agent turned award-winning Christian fiction author. When I wrote my first novel on a bucket list whim, I had no idea it would spark a spiritual journey that would redefine my calling. But you know what, friend? Self-publishing wasn't easy. I got caught in the hustle, chasing rankings and sales while desperately trying to stay rooted in Christ. Now, by God's grace, I'm building my author business His way, and now He's called me to help you do the same. Welcome to the Anointed Scribe podcast, where faith meets business for Christian writers. Let's write, publish, and grow our author business God's way. Are you ready? Well, then let's get started. Hey, it's your author friend Ursilia, and welcome to the show. If you're here for the first time today, I'm really glad God brought you here today. We don't always only talk tactics on this podcast. Most weeks we are digging into scripture and what it actually says about building your author life and business with Christ at the center. But today felt like a practical one was needed. So welcome. And if you want to catch both kinds of conversations going forward, then hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss any. Because I believe with all my heart, God has more to tell you. And of course, to my regular listeners who keep showing up, I see you and I'm genuinely grateful. Honestly, knowing you are on the other side of this mic is what makes it feel like a conversation worth having and that it lands somewhere real for you. I want you to know that I don't take you for granted, not for 1 minute. I pray for each of you. Even though I don't know your names, even though I don't know your stories, I pray for you and I trust that today's episode will bless you and be exactly what you need to hear today. So let's get into today's episode, which is a more practical one, as I said, less deep theology today, more of a gentle reality check. And I think for a lot of you, it's going to actually feel like a really deep breath of fresh air, because what I want to say first, before we get into anything else, is this. If your books aren't selling the way you hoped, it does not mean your writing is bad. It does not mean your calling is wrong. It does not mean God has forgotten about you or your books. It may simply mean that something in your author business needs attention. And today we are going to figure out what that something might be. See, here's what I see happen all the time with Christian authors, and I've lived this myself, so I'm not pointing fingers today. We symptom chase our way through our book sales. That's what I've called it, symptom chasing. If our sales are slow, we go looking for the fix. And usually, the fix is found in the same places everyone else is looking. Author Facebook groups where the same strategies get recycled every few weeks. Podcasts and courses that teach general principles that may or may not apply to your specific situation. Marketing advice from indie authors who are writing in completely different genres to completely different readers with completely different goals to yours. And here's the thing, none of that advice is necessarily wrong, but it is general, and a general solution applied to a specific problem rarely sticks, which is why you can follow every piece of advice in every Facebook group and still come out feeling like nothing is moving forward in your author business. We change the blurb, we try a new ad, we post more consistently, we update the cover, we join a promo stack, we take another course on Amazon keywords or Facebook ads, and none of it is wrong. All of those things do genuinely help. But here's the problem. If we are fixing the surface without diagnosing the root, we end up on a treadmill, or more aptly as we know it, a hamster wheel. Busy, tired, spending money on solutions that don't stick, and wondering why nothing we try seems to create any real momentum. The reason is usually simple. We are treating the symptom instead of the cause. Low book sales is a symptom. It's the warning light on your dashboard. And when a warning light comes up in your car, the answer isn't to put tape over it or cover it up with something and keep driving. The answer is to pop the hood and find out what's actually going on, right? So today, I want to help you pop your hood. Because once you can see what's really going on, the next steps become so much more clear. And that clarity, that sense of, okay, I know what I need to work on, is worth more than any marketing strategy. And today, I want to help you find your clarity so you know exactly what your next step towards abundance and freedom in your author business is. So I want to talk you through 5 areas that are worth looking at with fresh eyes when your books aren't selling. Not all 5 will apply to you. In fact, for most authors, it tends to be 1 or 2 that are doing the most damage. But knowing which one is your stuck point makes that next step crystal clear. So let's get into it. Reason number 1, your book positioning may be unclear. The first thing worth examining is your book positioning. This is a term that sounds more complicated than it really is. All it really means is this. When a reader lands on your book page, do they immediately understand what kind of book it is, who it's for, and why they should care? Because readers make buying decisions in seconds. If your cover, your title, your subtitle, and your blurb don't communicate those 3 things quickly and clearly, they'll move on. Not because your book isn't good, because they couldn't tell fast enough that it was for them. This is one of the most common and most overlooked reasons Christian authors struggle with sales. The book itself is solid, the writing is good, but the packaging isn't doing its job of communicating clearly to the right reader. So ask yourself honestly, if a complete stranger landed on your book page right now and spent 5 seconds looking at it, would they immediately know what kind of book it is, who it's for, and what they'd get from reading it? And let me also just say that sometimes a particular cover speaks to us as the author, and we think it will also resonate with our readers, which from experience, I can say it seldom does. And it can be very hard for us as creators to distance ourselves from the emotional connection we have with a book and the cover. So here's where I'd encourage you to ask God to give you the courage to reach out to someone, ideally 1 or 2 of your readers, even your ARC group, and get their opinion before you launch your book. And please don't fall into the enemy's trap by taking their feedback personally. You are not buying your book. They are, right? And if the answer is uncertain, if they can't immediately see who this book is for, what it's about, and what they get from reading it, positioning may very well be your stuck point. Okay, reason number 2, you may not be speaking to a specific reader. The second area is closely related to the first, but it goes a layer deeper. It's about who you are actually writing for. Here's a truth that takes most authors a while to accept. When you try to write for everyone, you end up reaching no one. A non-fiction book that is for any Christian woman anywhere is actually not compelling to a specific Christian woman. But a book that speaks directly to the woman who is navigating her faith in the middle of grief or rebuilding her sense of identity after a major life change or holding on to hope while her marriage is struggling, that book feels like it was written for her. And she will buy it, read it, share it, and come back for more. Or if you write fiction, it needs to speak to the reader navigating loss, who needs a character who understands grief from the inside. Or the reader who loves a good mystery but needs it to end with redemption rather than just resolution. Or a woman who grew up in the church but feels unseen by most Christian fiction and is hungry for a story that feels real rather than sanitized. The more specific you are about your reader, not just demographically, but emotionally and spiritually, the more deeply your writing resonates with the right people. This doesn't mean your book can only help a narrow audience. Often the opposite is true. The more specific the entry point, the more universal the resonance. But the entry point has to be specific enough to make the right reader feel seen. So the question to sit with here is, do you know exactly who your books are for? Not in general terms, but specifically. What are they carrying? What do they need? What do they believe about themselves that your book might gently challenge or confirm for them? If that picture is fuzzy, this may very well be your stuck point. Before we go further, I want to mention something that's going to help you work through all 5 of these areas in a really practical way. I created a free checklist called Why Aren't My Books Selling? It's a Christian author's quick check guide to spot what might be keeping your readers from buying your books. And it walks you through each of these 5 areas that we are getting into today with honest questions you can answer about your own author business. So you can identify where your biggest stuck point actually is rather than simply guessing. Because once you know where the real problem is, you can stop throwing time and money at things that aren't the issue. It's completely free. I'll leave the link for you in the show notes so you can go grab it after the episode and work through it prayerfully. Now, let's get to reason number 3 why your books might not be selling. Reason number 3 is your marketing may be scattered. This third area is one I think almost every indie author has experienced at some point, myself included. Scattered marketing. This is what it looks like. You're on Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest, and you're sending a newsletter and running Amazon ads and doing book talk because someone said you should, and trying a newsletter swap and posting in Facebook groups and considering running Facebook ads even though you don't really understand it and can't get past the campaign creation stage. You're busy all the time. You're doing things. It feels like you're very productive, but nothing is building momentum because nothing is getting enough consistent attention to actually work. Here's the thing about marketing. Almost any single strategy done consistently and done well over time will produce results. The problem is most of us never stay with anything long enough to find out because we are always chasing the next thing. The solution isn't to do more. It's to do less, better, and longer. Pick the 1 or 2 channels where your specific reader actually spends time. Show up there consistently. Give it enough time to actually work, which is usually longer than we want to wait. And resist the pull to add more until what you are already doing is producing results. Scattered marketing feels productive. Focused marketing actually is. So ask yourself, am I trying to be everywhere? And if so, is anything actually working or am I just staying busy? Reason number 4, your author business foundation may be unclear. Now we start to go a little deeper because this 4th area isn't about tactics at all. It's about something more foundational. A lot of Christian authors are building their author business without a clear answer to some very basic questions. What am I actually building here? What has God asked me to steward? What is my author business meant to support in my life, in my readers' lives, in God's kingdom? And when those questions don't have clear answers, every decision becomes harder than it needs to be. You don't know which opportunities to say yes to because you don't know what you're building toward. You don't know what to write next because you haven't defined what your body of work is meant to accomplish. You don't know how to market yourself because you're not clear on what you're offering or why it matters. Clarity about what you are building is not a luxury. It is the foundation that every other decision rests on. Without it, your author business drifts, not because you're not working hard, but because you're working without a clear direction. This is actually why I created the Discover Your Christian Author Brand Guide, which I introduced to you in the last episode, because this is where so many authors are genuinely stuck. Not in their marketing, in their foundation. And no marketing strategy will fix a foundation problem. So sit with us honestly. Do you know what you are building? Do you know what God has asked you to steward through your writing? If the answer is vague or uncertain or you are confused about it, this may be your biggest point that you are stuck on, and you will definitely benefit from downloading my free author brand guide. I'll link to it in the show notes for you. Which brings us to reason number 5. You may be building under pressure. This fifth area is the one nobody likes to talk about much. Possibly because, in my opinion, not many even recognize it. But in my experience, it's often the most significant area to look at under the microscope, and that is that you may be building your author business under pressure. What do I mean by that? I mean that fear, comparison, disappointment, and constant second guessing may be shaping your decisions more than you realize. Fear shows up as the author who learns every strategy but never fully commits to any of them. Because committing means risking, right? And risking means you might find out that the answer isn't what you wanted or needed to be. Comparison shows up as the author who can't write a single marketing post without measuring it against what other authors are doing first. So the voice that comes through in their marketing is never fully theirs. It's been filtered through 100 comparisons first. Disappointment. Disappointment shows up as the author who has somewhere along the way convinced themselves by looking at slow results that they are not good enough, that they heard God wrong, that maybe this wasn't their purpose and calling after all. And constant second guessing shows up as an author who changes direction every few months, chasing whatever is working for someone else because they don't trust their own sense of direction, or worse, God's guidance enough to stay the course. None of these are character flaws. They are extremely common responses to the difficulty of building something over a long period of time without much visible fruit. But they are also the things that keep the treadmill going, because no strategy in the world will produce consistent results when fear or comparison or discouragement is running the engine underneath it. This is the root that has to be addressed before anything on the surface can truly hold. So there are 5 possible deeper reasons your books may not be selling. Unclear positioning, no specific reader, scattered marketing, unclear foundation, building under pressure. And here's what I want you to take away from today. It's probably not all 5. For most authors, it's only 1, maybe 2, that are doing the most damage. And the moment you can name the real issue, I promise you, it's like a light bulb just went on inside your head. Because you stop throwing your time and money and effort at things that aren't the problem, and you start giving real attention to the thing that actually is. That is not a small thing that you need to ignore. That is the difference between spinning in place for another year and actually moving forward in your author career. And because this show, this entire Anointed Scribe brand God called me to create, has the sole purpose of helping other Christian authors write, publish, and grow their writing lives and author business in step with God, I'm always trying to come up with tools and products to help you. And almost all of them are inspired by what I personally went through in my own author journey and what I personally wish I had. So to help you get closer to why your books might not be selling, I created a free checklist, the checklist I mentioned earlier. And it's aptly called Why Aren't My Books Selling? And it walks you through all 5 of these areas with honest, practical questions so you can identify where your specific stuck point is and what might be keeping readers from buying your books. And take note, it's not going to show you where someone else's stuck point is. It's not going to generalize. It's going to show you yours. Because the next right step for your author business is going to look different from the next right step for mine. And that checklist is designed to help you find yours. It's free. The link is in the show notes. Go grab it, work through it honestly, and take what you find back to God. Let Him confirm what needs attention and what your next faithful step actually is. Friend, if your books aren't selling right now, please hear this one more time before you go. It does not mean your writing is bad. It does not mean your calling is wrong. It does not necessarily mean your book packaging is wrong. And it does not mean God has abandoned you or your books. It may simply mean that one area of your author business needs honest attention. And now you have a place to start looking. The checklist is in the show notes. Grab it, work through it, and take the next step. May your pen stay faithful, your roots grow deep, and every word you write bear fruit for His glory. One more thing before you go. If you are ready to get clear on who you are as a Christian author, your message, your mission, and the unique voice God has given you, grab my free Discover Your Christian Author brand guide. The link is in the show description. And if you know the issues go deeper than your brand, if you're tired of second-guessing every decision, overwhelmed by strategies that don't feel right, and trying to build your author business from pressure, fear, or comparison, then the Revive to Thrive Way was created for you. It's my self-paced, scripture-rooted program that helps Christian authors release the pressure, rebuild their author identity, and get clear direction for your author business. You can learn more and join at anointedscribe.com/revive to thrive. The link is in the show notes. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.